I, nearly adult female, live with my mother, my sister, 29, and my niece, kindergartner. I'm autistic and really sensitive to noise. Baby cries are among the worst. When my niece was born, she had colic, and it was the worst experience of my life. Her nursery was right next to my room, and our walls were thin, so I never slept. My nursery and my room were both in the basement while my mom and sister were upstairs, so I was the one dealing with it when the baby woke up often. I had a lot of meltdowns over this. It completely wrecked my performance in school. It sounds stupid, but I genuinely became suicidal. The constant noise, being expected to care for the baby when my sister couldn't, and the sleep deprivation all felt like a nightmare that would never end. The colic lasted 4 months, but even after that I really struggled. My niece yells all the time when she's playing. Her idea of fun is just making screeching noises. As soon as she realized it upset me, she'd do it intentionally in my ear, especially on car rides until I was sobbing. It drives me insane. If my niece is home, there is constant noise. My mother and sister are able to tune out the noise, but I can't. If I hear something, I can't focus on anything else. To be clear, I understand that none of this is my niece's or sister's fault, and it's not anyone's responsibility other than mine. I'm just trying to paint an idea of why this is so overwhelming for me. I don't dislike kids. Living with them is just a lot for me. Yesterday, I learned that my sister is over 6 months pregnant, and they've known each other for 4 months. I noticed her stomach was larger, but my sister is pretty overweight, so I never really became suspicious until recently. They told me they plan to keep it from me for as long as possible until I noticed, which terrified me. I really wish I had more time to prepare for this. I'm terrified to do this semester of school knowing that by the end I'll be living with a baby again. I don't expect my sister not to have another baby or anything. I just feel really hurt and betrayed that they were planning to hide it for as long as possible. I know I'm not owed this information. It just feels like a courtesy, considering we're living together. I've been considering moving to my dad's in another state, but he lives with my brother, who was abusive towards me, and it seems like an awful idea anyway because I'm going into the last semester of my senior year of high school. I mentioned that I wish they told me sooner, and my sister got upset because I'm a child who doesn't need to know all of her private business. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your sister needs to be the one sleeping in the basement next to the baby's room. She's the one getting pregnant. She needs to be the one dealing with said baby at night. It sounds like you were the primary person in charge of your niece during the nighttime responsibilities. Are they expecting you to do that again for the new baby? Your mom and sister clearly have no respect for you or your triggers. They apparently haven't told your niece not to scream in your ear, which baffles me. They make you sleep next to a colicky baby. Did your sister even get up at night to help care for the baby, or was it all you? I think your sister is taking advantage of you and your time and help. I'm very sorry you had to go through this. Make it clear that you will not be caring for this baby or her children. If they threaten to kick you out for not allowing them to parentify you, respond that you'll call CPS for neglect, since the mother of the children is not taking care of them. Move out as soon as you are able. I'm so sorry you're going through this. Good luck. My 27 female husband, 33, and I are currently taking care of his recently orphaned niece, pre-tween, with the plan to adopt her later. Her first name is Kelly and her middle name is Anne, fake names, but she prefers to be called Anne and has been that way for a few years now. She introduces herself as, "My name is Kelly Ann, but you can call me Anne." My sister, 28, is 8 months pregnant with her first child and several months ago found out is a girl. She's always wanted to name her daughter Anne and is excitedly telling everyone. Upon learning of Kelly Ann's situation and how my husband and I plan to adopt her, my sister told me a few days after that we should start telling Kelly Ann to call herself Kelly instead of her middle name. She said 2 Anns in the family would be confusing, so Kelly Ann needs to get used to being Kelly. My husband said she was being ridiculous, and if anything, it's her baby that needs renaming because Kelly Ann has been calling herself Anne for years. My sister argued that she'd announced her baby's name many months ago and we only plan to adopt Kelly Ann recently, so we should be the one making her rethink how to call herself. I joined my husband's side and told my sister that Kelly Ann could call herself whatever she chose to. My sister and her husband called my husband and me idiot for stealing her baby's name. So am I the idiot for refusing to call my niece anything else but her chosen name? Not the idiot. No one should have to choose a different name. I know a few families with cousins who share a first name and it's not a big deal. If your Anne doesn't want to have two Annes, then she shouldn't use it. But expecting a child to adopt a different name than she's been using just because she, the sister, has decided to use the selected name is entitled and mean, to say the least. Your sister and her husband are being absurd. There is not really any such thing as stealing a name, and Kellyanne has been alive for far longer than their child and has been using the name for longer too. Out of curiosity, would they also expect you to change that child's name if you were to later adopt an older child into the family who came with the same name as one of their kids? Ludicrous. Exactly this. Anne has already lost so much. She shouldn't have to lose her name. Let's further traumatize Anne by forcing her to change her name for a baby that sister sees as a more legitimate family member than Anne. I mean, that's really what's going on. Sister sees herself and her baby as more human than Anne. Sister is gross and needs help. I had a way less difficult situation with my family. My wife and I chose names for our children way before we got pregnant. For a boy, we chose the name Jack, not the real name. We didn't tell family back then, and my sister, living with my parents, got herself a cat called Jack. So now we have a son with the same name as the cat. But who cares? We even call them Human Jack and Cat Jack. Tell your sister, great, we can call them Big Anne and Little Anne. My 28 male sister, 33, is visiting me this week with her daughter, my niece, young teen. I was excited to host them in my house as I haven't really seen my family much ever since I moved away from our home state for my career. For context, I'm a lawyer at a large firm. That means I have to take work home often, so I have a room in my house set up as an office. My office has privileged information about cases and clients. Long story short, when my sister and niece arrived yesterday, and after I helped them get settled in, I told them that there's only one rule that I have for staying in my house. My office is off limits. Fast forward a few hours, and everything's fine and dandy. I'm just sitting on the couch with my sister watching a movie, until I get a call from a senior associate at work asking me to do a quick review of a document that he sent me via email. When I get upstairs, I see the door to my office is wide open and the lights are on. When I went in to investigate, my niece was sitting in my chair and taking selfies with her feet on my desk. I was beyond furious. I have only one rule for guests at my house, and it's to stay out of my office. I have that rule for a reason. Not only would I be at risk of disbarment, but the integrity of the entire case would be jeopardized if any of that information is leaked. While I'm not accusing her of that specifically, I don't want uninvolved people in my office taking pictures and posting them on social media where there may or may not be protected information in the view of the camera. I asked her what she was doing and she said, "I was just curious, I want to be a lawyer like you when I grow up." I told her, "Get the heck out and stay out, you little witch." My sister came running up the stairs after my niece started crying, and she told me that I was a monster for talking like that to a kid. I told her she had no business being in my office, and my sister said it didn't matter because she's just a kid. So, am I the idiot here? Everyone's the idiot here. A young teen is old enough to understand that a certain room is off limits and not to go in there. Your sister, because she doesn't seem to be teaching her daughter to follow the rules that you set out, and not giving her daughter any consequences for entering your office without permission. But calling niece a witch was taking it way too far. As a lawyer, you should have a much better grip on handling stressful situations without losing your cool. Yeah, dude, what's wrong with you? As a solo practitioner, I have to say this. I'd think a fancy-pants big firm attorney who has a bunch of privileged crap in their home office just like I do would put a damn locking knob on the door and/or keep all materials in locked cabinets when not in active use. You need to adequately protect these materials. Sure, your front door locks, but once someone's in the house, apparently they could easily get into this stuff without you noticing in time. Yeah, what the heck? I don't have physical files and my workstation locks, but if I'm having people over, I just lock my computer in my desk. No big deal, it adds 30 seconds to my day, which means I'm actually doing my job. Even a spouse being able to access it would get me in trouble if I was found out, and calling a girl names was pathetic of OP. You're a lawyer, supposedly a professional person. Be better. My spouse and I have 2 sons. We discussed changing our wills with some new developments and had some negative feedback from friends. My younger son married his college sweetheart. They have 3 kids with a 4th on the way. His wife's family is extremely poor and has never been able to help financially. We cover quite a bit since there's no help from one side. She also has multiple siblings, and whatever is left in her parents' estate is being split among them all. It will likely be very little. My older son's wife's family is of equal, if not more, wealth to us and provides for their daughter without hesitation. As such, we haven't given them much help since it was never needed. This daughter-in-law is not only an only child, but the single member of her family in that generation. She is set to inherit from half a dozen estates as the last living relative. They also do not plan on having children. Our wills, written before either was married, were initially equal splits. With how things have gone, we feel we should leave the majority to our youngest. They will get next to nothing from his wife's family and have children of their own to support. My older son will inherit more than enough from his wife's side to equal out. We were talking about this with some friends, and they said we should be prepared to cause tension by treating our sons differently. My spouse and I believe our reasoning is sound. We love both, but one needs more support from us. Are we correct, or are we being idiots? You are the idiot, LOL. I legitimately thought you would give more to the other son to make up for favouring the son who keeps having kids he can't afford. But nope, you're just going to continue to favour the irresponsible one. Give the younger son some condoms. It sounds like that's his main need at the moment. That's the answer. OP is your money, but your son will probably resent you for this. His wife is set to inherit, but he's not. So if anything happens to them, he's out in the cold. Is that fair? Your younger son needs more money because they have 4 kids. Kids that, by the sound of it, they can't really afford. I understand your reasoning, but this is an issue he is causing himself. I second this. If anything should happen to the older son's wife, she dies before her relatives, he will inherit nothing while your younger son gets it all. If your older son's marriage ends in divorce, he will not be entitled to her inheritance, and as you left him with nothing, he will not get his own. You are being short-sighted and letting your older son know that you haven't put in the thought for his future. It's an insult for that alone, but the message you're sending your sons is that you only want to support the one with more children than he can afford and requires constant handouts. That's unfair to the one son who has taken nothing from you as an adult. And why the heck are you discussing this with friends? Stop, right now. Equal split, and don't discuss it with anyone. Because they know it's wrong and they were hoping friends would understand. And now that their friends don't side with them, they're hoping random strangers will side with them. Joke's on them because their current plan sucks. I'm a 32-year-old female. I have 4 kids. Young teen, 2 tweens and an infant. Yeah, I know, don't come at me. As of 4 weeks ago, the kids' school shut down completely due to water damage and a fallen roof in the gymnasium and cafeteria. They should be returning fairly soon, I would think. Until then, virtual learning. Honestly, I'm having a rough time with the lack of decompression time. The kids are more rambunctious than usual due to lack of stimulation and sitting at a computer screen for learning, but add a baby going through a sleep regression who sleeps all day and is up literally all night. You get one tired mama who has 0 downtime. It won't last forever, and that's what I keep telling myself, but right now I just need a breather without entertaining, answering questions, or being touched. My husband is fully aware of this, but he feels it doesn't apply to him for whatever reason. So, on the off chance that the baby does go to bed at a decent time, when the other kids are in bed, he assumes I want to spend every second of that time with him. I understand how important it is to maintain that closeness with him, but right now I'm tapped out. So him touching me and trying to get a piece or trying to talk about our finances, which we already talk about when the kids are awake, is exhausting, especially considering he gets downtime. After the kids go to bed, he goes to his office to do whatever for 2 or 3 hours while I try to get the baby down. She's strictly breastfed. It's just that the second she's asleep, in his head it's like, oh, the kids are all asleep, it's my turn to get attention. Even if he sees that I've opened a book or put on headphones. And it's just getting increasingly frustrating because, like I said, the baby is up all night and she's at an age where she wants me to be fully engaging with her, talking, holding, playing, or she gets fussy. So everyone here is constantly begging for my attention while I'm just begging for 30 minutes of being left alone. And like I said, my husband is fully aware of this. I've told him. He thinks it doesn't apply to him. So last night I got the baby to bed around 9ish and my husband came in and said, "Want to watch a movie?" I said no and that I wanted to read, but he could watch the movie beside me, so we were still together or whatever. But he kept making comments. "Babe, don't you even want to watch this? It's funny." Or, did you see that? And then proceeds to rewind the movie so I can see it even though I said I didn't want to. And lastly, you don't even want to give me that butt. At this point, I was fuming mad because I hadn't made it through 2 pages uninterrupted, and I snapped. I said, will you just leave me alone? Why do I have to keep repeating myself to you? He turns off the movie and storms out to the office while saying, I just wanted to hang out with you. Now I feel bad, but I need to be left alone for once. Edit, he does his part around the house. He helps clean, helps with dinners, and is usually the one who drives the kids to and from their sports. This isn't about what he does and doesn't do to pull his weight. It's only about me not getting any downtime because he wants my undivided attention, much like the kids. We still hang out together. We literally watch a movie together every single night. But on the nights that I don't want to do that, he sits and basically begs for my attention, even when I voice that I want to do my own thing. Not the idiot, you sound burned out, and that alone time or lack of pressure is necessary to recharge. He needs to start understanding that before this gets worse. Women have little enough time to themselves. It's not a criticism of their guy if they don't want to watch the movie, for Pete's sake. It's crazy how husbands don't understand that the most irresistible thing they could do would be to step up as a parent. OP, I know you said he pulls his weight, but if one parent has 2 or 3 hours of free time a night and the other has 0, you need to redistribute equal. Tell him next week you'd like him to put the baby down. As soon as you're done nursing, hand him the baby and take time for yourself until it's time for the next feeding. If that recharges you, find a way to make it the routine at least some nights a week. Yes, but nursing doesn't always work like this. People think of breastfeeding primarily as a way to feed a baby, but it's actually primarily a relationship. OP may be the only person who can get the baby down with nursing. A better solution is for the husband to actually listen to his wife and give her space when she wants.